I'm Chef Say. Here in the Northwest, we get the best salmon ever. And I know a lot of people are afraid to cook it because they don't necessarily know when it's done. But I'm gonna give you the tools and the tips you need to cook salmon perfectly every time. One of the things I like to do is I like to smell my salmon. It should smell clean, fresh, and not like the tide is out. When I get this home, even though my fishmonger has said he has deboned it, I want to check for pin bones just in case. The pin bones run right along here, so I'm just going to touch my fish gently to make sure that I don't have any pin bones left. This one doesn't have any, but if you find some, just use some tweezers and pull them out gently. I prefer my salmon cooked simply, so all we're going to do to this salmon is sprinkle on a little bit of kosher salt, and then first rule, hot pan. How do you know it's hot? Grab a little bit of water, flick it in the pan. If it sizzles like that, it's ready to go. Pan is hot. Next thing I want to do, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil goes in the bottom. Now I want to get my oil hot. If I have my oil hot and my pan hot, my salmon is not going to stick. Swirl to coat. That's what I'm looking for. Can you see how it's shimmering just around the edges? That's how I know my oil is hot and ready to go. And now our salmon goes in. I want to make sure that my salmon has skin on it. It's a lot easier to cook and hold its shape if the skin is on. So this just goes on. Don't touch it. I know you're going to be tempted to peek, but just let it sear. Once the salmon has seared nicely, it's going to release automatically from the pan and not stick. Now, I get a lot of questions about, okay, how do I know when it's done? This really comes from practice. And I can't necessarily give you a total length of time because your pan's going to be different, your cooktop's going to be different, the thickness of your salmon is going to be different. So this is something that you're going to have to learn for practice. We're actually ready to flip the salmon. So I just stick that underneath the fish. Did you see how that didn't stick to the pan? And then gently flip it over. Beautiful. And look how it's cooked, part way up. That's how I know that it's starting to be cooked on the bottom. Now we're going to cook a little bit on the top, and then depending on the thickness of your fillet, we're actually going to put this in the oven. Okay, I'm going to stop the pan right now. I've got it seared on one side, I've got it seared on the second side. Now I want to test for doneness, and to do that, just going to use these two fingers. So I'm just going to touch the fish right here and give it a little squeeze. Now I notice there's quite a bit of give there, so I know the fish isn't cooked in the center. So because this is a pretty thick fillet, I'm going to stick this in the oven probably for about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the thickness. Salmon has just come out of the oven. Now the reason I use the oven is because it's a slow and gentle heat as opposed to the cooktop, which is a high and direct heat. So salmon is probably done, so I'm going to pull it out of the pan. Again, I'm going to test for doneness. So I'm going to just flip it over onto my plate. Oh, isn't that gorgeous? Now all I'm going to do is, again, use my little fingers here, and I'm just going to squeeze here in the center, and I can feel that it's nice and firm, but it's still got just a little bit of give to it. So that's how I know it's done. Now, if you really feel the need and you're just getting to know how to cook salmon, go ahead and use an instant read thermometer. You want to cook it to about 140 degrees internal temperature. Take it out, let it rest, and the temperature is going to rise about 5 degrees. And once that's done, your fish is perfectly cooked. All right, shall we take a bite? Oh, this looks absolutely beautiful. It smells so fresh. It's so nice and light. Probably what I would do is serve this with a little squeeze of lemon because simplest is best. Wow, it doesn't get any better than that. So please don't have fear. Cook salmon at home. It's very easy to do. Happy and healthy cooking.